someone who's just defining her basketball career as we speak, having been the player of the year in the NCAA tournament, getting back to the Final Four, now heading into her senior year at Stanford, and is going to have a great career in the W one day. It's a friend of the show now, Haley Jones. I'm very excited to have Haley on the show. Thank you so much for checking in. Where are you in your summer travels?
Hi, thanks so much for having me. Excited to be here. And I'm currently at the morning lift, but I'm headed out to class for the day afterwards.
See, these Stanford kids, they're taking classes in July, right? Wow. That's the difference with those. That's the difference with them and the rest of us. But I know you've had a chance to travel. I know you've had a chance to decompress from the season. But when you look back at this past season, what are you most proud of from that group?
I think I'm really proud of our resilience. I think that earlier in the year we had a few losses that we weren't very proud of. But, we got into the gym. We stuck through some tough practices, some tough conditioning sessions. And I think that we really banded together to make a deep run into the tournament, which was amazing. And I mean, going undefeated in the Pac-12 is almost unheard of. So really proud of our team for all that.
I saw on the schedule for next year, I think you have South Carolina in the regular season. Did that just get added?
Yeah. So we have like a 3-year contract with them. The first year was supposed to be during COVID, but COVID happened. And then we played there last year. And then now we host them, which has kind of become an odd cross-country rivalry. Coming into college, I believe our class of 2023, they had the number 1 class when we were number 2. So our classes have kind of created this big rivalry.
Two-time All-American Stanford women's basketball star Haley joins the show. There's a rivalry with South Carolina, obviously rivals up and down the Pac-12. You're in the Final Four with Connecticut. There's this real, I don't want to say camaraderie, but there's kind of this sisterhood in women's college basketball that I really feel you're at the center of. Can you speak to some of the relationships you have with some of the players around the sport and what it means to all be competing against each other at this time in your life?
For sure. I think that women's basketball is it's been on the rise in recent years, getting more respect, more visibility, more followers, things of the sort. And I think a lot of that comes from the stories off the court as well as our skills on the court. But playing USA basketball from a young age and being able to meet, players who end up just being your friends, and then years later on, okay, now you're all Americans and you're all player of the year in your respective conferences, or you're competing for the same awards and the same championships and all that down the road towards the end of the season. So being best friends with Leah Boston at South Carolina is an individual rivalry within the team. And, we got them in the Final Four in 2021, and then they got to win this past year. So it's the 2 reigning national champions get a head-to-head in early November, which is insane. And then, being friends with Paige from USA and Haley Van Lith at Louisville. So it's really cool to kind of have your best friends in the whole wide world be the greatest players on the planet at the same time and compete against them.
That's so cool. And then you get a chance to go out to WNBA All-Star Weekend in Chicago. What were the festivities like, and what does that do for you as an athlete in terms of motivation to get a chance to be around the best players in the world when you're hoping to get there one day yourself?
Yeah, it was kind of crazy being there. I've never been to an All-Star game like that, so seeing how many fans that there were, kind of the mecca of women's basketball this past weekend was insane. And it's also weird, players that I looked up to from a young age are still playing, and I get to see them. Then players that, Ryan Howard, who I played on USA basketball with last year, is now an All-Star. So it's a mix of the old generation with the new that I'm a part of, and hopefully get to be in that game in the next few years. And be in the league next year is kind of crazy to see the mix of all the different generations.
You mentioned Ryan Howard. I watched her ball out for Atlanta the other night. She killed the Liberty. Haley Jones joining the show. Ben Lyons in for Rich on the Rich Eisen Show. In addition to playing basketball at the highest level, I mean, you're an All-American, you're Player of the Year in the tournament, all that stuff. You're also a student at Stanford, and I know from our conversations that you were in awe of your classmates, and you get to geek out on some of the other people you get to go to school with. So who are some of the other kids that, are up there at Stanford that you've become friends with, and what are some of the cool stuff that they're doing that's way different than basketball?
Yeah, I mean, the athletic community here is really special because it's there are swimmers that are Olympians and golfers that are number 1 in the world. And then they like to come to our games and fangirl over us. And at the same time, they're running a nonprofit. And my freshman roommate, who is just a normal student here at Stanford, runs a nonprofit for Syrian refugees. And the guy I live next to sold his tech to Google before we got to Stanford. And now you want to, be amazed by me going and playing in a basketball game in the Pac-12. And I'm like, are you kidding me? You're amazing. So it's kind of like you get humbled every day, but at the same time, you're uplifted by everybody still being amazed by what you do. So it's a really special community to be a part of, to have all these athletes here who are Olympians and gold medalists and World Cup champions also be so interested and passionate about things outside of their sport.
Haley Jones joining the show. And in addition to, playing basketball at a high level, I know you're out there working and taking on jobs and creating content and doing a podcast. And talk to me about some of the projects you have going on off the basketball floor.
Yeah, so this past year when the new media company Together was formed by Alex Morgan, Sue Bird, Simone Manuel, and Chloe Kim, I was one of their first interns. So that was really cool. That was this past summer. And then as we got into the fall, myself and two of my teammates started an internship with a investment firm in Saratoga in the Silicon Valley. So that's been going on for the past year. So kind of getting this holistic mindset as the NIL came to form and learning what I want to do with my own money and how to invest it and, think long term with those types of things has been amazing. And then looking to start my own podcast with my trainer has been really cool, but just kind of like before I'm going into my professional career, I want to get a lot of things off the ground and running and get as much knowledge as I can from many people that I can, and using all my resources that I have here as a Stanford student has been really special and really cool.
It's such a unique time in your life, and the years that you've been at college have been filled with so many challenges, obviously, with COVID and the season you guys had, having to be on the road for as long as you were that season. And now just the way that women's basketball is exploding and the NIL has changed everything. So being at the center of all of it, what's it like as an in-demand, big-time college athlete to have NIL now and have the opportunity to go out there and form brand partnerships? Is this something you're really focused on?
I think it's something that I'm focused on, but it also has to be on the back burner. I think my mom and dad really helped me create an outlook on it where, it's amazing, but it's also my livelihood doesn't depend on this, so I don't need to spend all my time on it. I get to create my brand now a year before I leave, but last year when it came out, I had 2 years to create my brand, who I want my audience to be, what I want to figure out what I want to say, what are my messages, and then figure out the partnerships I want to create. But also these NIL opportunities aren't going to come without, being in the classroom first and taking care of my grades that I'm eligible to play. And then they're not going to come unless I'm performing on the court at the highest level that I can. So I think, it's a priority, but it's also something that I can't spend too much time on just because I have so many other things going on that affect me more on a day-to-day basis.
Haley, it was a big story, and I don't know why, but that Anthony Davis, when the season ended, I think a few weeks or months went by, and it came out that he hadn't picked up a basketball, and everybody made a big deal about it. But I actually thought that was good. AD's had a lot of injuries, and he can focus on getting healthy and doing some other things. I'm not going to forget how to shoot a basketball. When you have a season end and you have some downtime, how much time do you take? What do you do to train away from basketball? Anything outside the box?
Yeah, I think when the season ends, there's a lot of things you got to go through. Like, your body does need rest, so you do need to take a substantial amount of time off. And when I take time off of basketball, I grew up playing every sport in the book, from being a junior lifeguard in my little beach town to water polo to soccer and now basketball. So, having all these different interests has allowed me to stay focused and still love what I do. So I completely understand taking a break from basketball, where I think that you can still be active and still stay in shape and get your body right by doing other things. So I know for me, we're able to work with a yoga and Pilates coach who is amazing here at Stanford. So getting your core activation in, staying limber in the off season. And then I like to swim. I can go do that as conditioning. I like to, try to do these non-impactful conditioning things. I can do other sports to stay in shape and, take a break away from basketball so that when you come back to the season, you come back to your grind season, which is going to be awful. You're sore all the time. I think that you have to find other ways that when you come back, you still love what you're doing and you want to be in the gym and you want to go through that grind, which is awful.
Hey, Haley, how you doing? This is TJ here.
Hi.
Hey, quick question for you. We're big on lists here, right, Haley? So my question is this. We're going to do kind of like a Space Jam thing for you, right?
Okay.
Aliens are coming from outer space. We got to have a pickup game to save the Earth, right? And of course, some people on Earth probably don't need saving, but whatever. We're going to save everyone on Earth. You have to assemble a starting five of the greatest women basketball players of all time. I'm going to put you on this team, right? So that means you're going to pick 4 from any era of any time. Who are you going to pick to run with you in order to save the world?
Oh, wow. We're just asking it right off the noggin. Okay.
No pressure.
None.
I'm thinking, okay, so I can be at either guard or the forward position, right? So I need to decide which one I want to do. So I'm thinking I would choose Cheryl Swoops. I would choose Lisa Leslie. I'm going to do, what am I at, 2? Maybe Maya Moore.
Okay.
And I'm going to do, oh, gosh, one more. Do I want another big or another guard?
No pressure, Haley. You're just saving the entire planet. So.
Oh, yeah, just leaving the whole planet here. There's no pressure at all, and I'm coming up with this in 30 seconds. I think my last player, I'm going to just stay with a classic and take Diana Taurasi.
Oh.
Wait. Changing that. I want Asia Wilson on my team.
Asia?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, can I be honest with you? I'm going to go to bed and feel comfortable that I'm going to wake up tomorrow with this team. I feel good about it.
Yeah, the Earth will be saved with this
I
squad.
feel good about this. Thank you.
That squad. It's incredible. It's got to be incredible for you, Haley, to go to an All-Star weekend and to meet these women, people you've been fans of for a long time. Who did you just completely lose your cool with? Have you ever nerded out on a player?
I don't know if I really ever lost my cool, but I definitely geeked out over whenever I get to be around Asia, I think that she's so cool, and I love her personality that she shows on and off the court. So I think that Asia's really dope. But I got to talk with Allie Quigley and Courtney Vandersloot, and I think I geeked out over the 2 of them just because I think that they're so cool. Allie Quigley, I literally met her 15 minutes after she won the 3-point contest, and she's won 4 times now. That's the first time ever anybody's ever done that. So 15 minutes afterwards, I met her, and we're just chit-chatting like nothing ever happened, and she's talking about how, she loves watching me play. And I'm like, are you serious? You're amazing. I love you. I'm your biggest fan. So I kind of geeked out a little bit.
Very cool.
I think it's time we get Allie and Steph now in the shootout because we've got to find out who's the one. Everyone else is the 2, and they're the 1. So let's get this figured out.
Hey, I'm not going to ask you to save the world or anything, but I was curious. You talked about being a versatile athlete, kind of growing up and playing multiple sports and soccer and swimming, and before landing on basketball. We see today, in today's age, kind of specialization and kids kind of focusing on one sport and foregoing kind of the other ones that maybe they played growing up. Can you just talk to how playing multiple sports helped you and what advice you would give young girls and boys about this specialization, maybe going that route?
Yeah, I think specialization isn't always the best thing. I think that it can work out in certain situations. Everybody's different, but I know for me, I was a kid where I needed to be doing a million things at one time. I think my parents need that too because I was an endless ball of energy, so they needed to tire me out somehow. So it worked out on both ends. But I wanted to follow every small passion that I had. So that was me being obsessed with swim team or soccer, tennis for a week, golf for a week with my grandma, whatever it was. I wanted to do it, and I wanted to have the freedom to feel like I could try anything that I wanted to. And then when I ended up choosing basketball, it was when I went into high school when I finally started specializing. But I think that you can learn from every sport that you have. So you can get quick twitch fibers from doing something like soccer and learning how to move your feet, or you can get great conditioning, cardio, and core from doing swim. And you can take little bits and pieces from every sport and learn different angles of different games that can, for me, then translate onto the basketball court. But what I also love was getting to create relationships with so many different types of people, where now I still have friends from when I was a junior lifeguard, and I'm able to go to the beach and hang out with them, and I'm able to catch up with my soccer friends. And so I'm able to always have an escape and never feel too tied down to something or never feel burnt out from something. So that's why I really appreciated never fully specializing in a sport until I was in high school.
Did you have a moment where it was okay, I went to a camp or something and you kind of dominated, where it was all right, basketball is going to be the thing for me that kind of carries me into the next part of my life?
There really wasn't a big moment. I actually only chose basketball because, so in 8th grade in California, in high school, soccer and basketball are in the same season, but they're usually not. So I probably would have done both in high school if I could. But I remember having a conversation with my mom, and I was like, Mom, I think I want to choose soccer. I think I'm a lot better at soccer, at this point in time, I'd already had offers to play D1 basketball and this and that. But I was like, you know what? Like, I think soccer is for me. And she said, Haley, I love that for you, but I think you're better at basketball. And I was like, no, you're wrong. You're a liar. You're better at soccer. And, moms are always right, unfortunately.
Always right.
And so now she still likes to give me a hard time occasionally, but I chose soccer. I chose basketball because I trusted my mom, and it's worked out, which she'll never let me hear the end of.
I love that. That's so great. And being that you love all sports, we've been asking folks today, what's the greatest game you've ever been to as a fan? I know the greatest game you've played in as a player, I watched it, but in terms of just going as a fan in any sport, what's one game that comes to mind that you were at?
So my freshman year, our soccer team here is amazing. So my freshman year, the College Cup, so the Final Four for women's soccer was in San Jose, which is a 20-minute drive. So we all hopped on the cow train. We went to San Jose, and we watched our women's soccer team win the national championship in PKs. And that was the most amazing atmosphere I've ever gotten to be a part of. And, actually know the girls out there and see, my fellow freshmen at the time getting to win their first national championship. That's probably my favorite I've been able to go to.
That's a great answer. The camaraderie amongst Stanford athletes is really special. Yeah. I look forward to watching you play this season, and I can't wait to see you in the W. Thanks so much for checking in, Haley.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
Haley Jones joining the show, Player of the Year in the tournament, All-American, national champion.